Alright. What's up, guys? Sorry if my voice sounds a little gay, I've been a little homo lately. And I've just been thinking about this thing to do with YouTube. And, you know, just how many people out there on YouTube are trying to make, like, video essays and, like, very informative styles of content. And, you know, that's my favorite form of YouTube content, is things that are, like video essays, usually. That's, like, 90% of my feed. I don't know, I've just been thinking a lot about how, like, there's so many different rabbit holes I've gone down. There was a time when I was younger where video essays were kind of a rare breed. It was hard to find videos that were like the kind I wanted to find. That's why when I found a YouTube content creator who did make that kind of, like, deeper level, more, like, thoughtful, like, analysis, you know, I really, really liked those channels, and I would get, like, obsessed with them and listen to all their content, like, 100 times over. Because it was kind of like there's not that many people on YouTube who are that deep. But nowadays, it seems like video essays are common. There's so many people, like post-pandemic, there's so many people making a living on the internet by being, I guess, educational, you could say, or informative. It's basically like this whole genre of YouTube video where every thumbnail looks the same and everyone is doing the same type of amateurish journalism. And more I see, like, these videos, like, kind of like a Joseph Anderson flavored thing, where they try to copy the style of these older creators who are, like, more well-read, more literate, more, like, you know, I don't want to say more trustworthy, but just, like, people who had a higher standard of, like, what their, like, writing and editing could be. And now it seems like people lean much more heavily into, like, having good, like, production values, having like a really good camera, good lighting, good audio quality, good editing, to kind of, like, use that as a crutch to make themselves seem more legitimate than they really are. And yeah, that's kind of, like, the reason why my content looks the way it does, because I'm not out here to make content. I'm here to make just stuff that feels very real and very personal. Like, I'm just trying to be me. I'm just trying to, like, be authentic and not try to put on airs like, ooh, I'm some fancy, like, YouTuber, you have to listen to everything I say because I'm so intelligent, because I don't give a fuck about that. I'm just a regular person like you or anyone else. I do not posture. I do not threaten to posture. I try to put myself above other people. I don't believe in hierarchy. I have to do the work. I have to put the effort in to understanding which of the videos I watch are, like, good, and which ones are just trying to sell me something. And I think that's a skill that more people could... a lot of people really need this skill for, like, sniffing out misinformation and, I don't know, just, like, bad actors on the internet. Oh, fuck. Hello, kitty cat. Hi. Come here. Good boy. He's so cute. Hello, Anakin. Hello. He's such a good kitty. Yeah, he's so handsome. He's such a good boy. I love him so much. My baby, my baby. He's such a cutie pie. There he goes. Yep, that's Anakin. So I guess I just wanted to record this video to give some of my personal experiences and some of my advice, like things I've learned from the way that I navigate the internet. I'm sure most of the people who actually watch my videos, you may already know this stuff. Most of you are, you know, in your, like, late 20s, early 30s. You're old enough to know better than to just listen to some fucko on the internet, but, you know, in case my audience grows beyond what it is now and more people need this information, I want to put this out there. So the number one thing you have to keep in mind when browsing YouTube is that YouTube is a revenue stream. It's where people go to sell you something. Inherently, they're not a trustworthy source. YouTube videos are not like something you should just trust right out the gate. Not a reliable source of facts or information. Just be wary of that. Just be wary that they are trying to sell you something. And usually that's something they're trying to sell you. It's not usually like a physical product. I mean, sometimes it is, like, but they're usually like, sure, there's like merchandise and t-shirts and all that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about YouTubers who want to sell you an ideology. People who want to sort of pull you into their inner circle and get you tangled up in their social web so that you become part of their in-group, and then all of the out-groups look strange and incomprehensible to you. They want you to be in their clutches. People want you to agree with their ideologies and their worldview so that you will keep coming back to them. You'll keep coming back and keep watching their stuff and keep going, yeah, that makes so much sense, or yeah, like, I totally agree with that. This is like the only guy on the internet who makes perfect sense. And like, that's kind of a dangerous thing, because you don't want to become obsessed. You don't want to become obsessed, and you don't want to become strange. When you get too deep into like one in-group, you start to learn the language of that in-group, and like using words that like no one else uses, and then you just start to sound like, you sound like a weirdo to like your friends. Like, normal people will hear you talk about these things and it'll be like, are you in a cult or something? Like, what is this? Like, and you kind of are. You're in someone's cult of personality, and that's not always a good thing. It's usually not a good thing. And I'm not saying like you should just never believe anything anyone says ever. Like, obviously if it's well reasoned and well intentioned, then like there's nothing wrong with like adopting certain viewpoints that you've heard from other people. None of us are totally original in our ideas and our perspectives. We are all informed by our environment and people around us, obviously. But you should be especially wary of content creators who not only want to get you to like buy into their ideology, but who want you to buy into their ideology through anger and aggressiveness. You should be very, very skeptical of people who are angry all the time. People who get really pissed off, or people who will say like they'll kind of posture themselves as like, oh, like, I'm just a really intelligent, like, philosopher, you know, and then when you get deeper into their content, they start to reveal themselves more and get more pissed off and be like, oh, like, look at these stupid people that I disagree with. Gosh, I'm sorry, I've been reacting to their stuff for so long that I'm just so pissed. Like, how could I possibly take it when it's like a carefully edited video that they've been working on for weeks? Come on. That stuff is put there intentionally to get you riled up. It's to get you on their side. It's to get you feeling what they're feeling. That way, you know, it burrows the ideology deeper into your mind, makes it feel like something you're emotionally invested in, which makes it feel more like a part of you. And it sounds deceptive. It's because it is. So yeah, just like, don't be too quick to like, if you find a new YouTube channel that you really, really love and you agree with everything they say, do not be too quick to make the things they say a part of your identity, your personality. Like, be skeptical and then stay skeptical. Don't ever just like buy in and be like, oh, this person is like a genius and I'm gonna listen to everything they say because they're so much smarter than me. Don't do that. You can have respect for them. You can say, yeah, like they're pretty smart, but like you should never allow yourself to go down the path to like worship, because that's where you're just not thinking for yourself anymore. And while this person might be making you feel like you came to these conclusions on your own because, you know, you sought them out and heard out all their points and you're like, oh, well, it just makes so much sense to me that, like, I agree with it now, you're still basically letting someone choose what ideas you want to believe in. And the best way to avoid that is to just, I'd say, have a healthy, like varied palette of creators to listen to. Especially you should be seeking out people you disagree with, just to hear what they have to say. You can't defeat your enemy if you don't know your enemy. Unless, of course, your enemies are saying things that are psychologically damaging to you. If you can't take it, if your mental health can't withstand it, then by all means avoid that shit. I had to for a while, I get it. And I know in a previous video I talked about creativity and authenticity and how those are like the two like character traits that I value over all else. I would say being one of those YouTubers that like is trying to sell you on an ideology and do it through like aggression and like anger, just like vitriol, just getting you riled up and angry, because like to me that is inauthentic, because it's a form of like, I think bullying and like picking on other people, it is just kind of inherently inauthentic, because it's like you're using other people as like a psychological shield to protect your ego. Like you're saying like you're actually insecure about something and you're projecting that insecurity onto someone else and being like, oh haha, that person's ugly or fat or whatever. Like you're just self-conscious because you don't want to be those things, or you perceive those things in yourself, or maybe you used to be these negative things that you see. And like I said earlier, you know, YouTube is not a reliable source of information, and that's true. But what it is a reliable source for is it's a reliable source for expression. It's someplace I can, like, that's probably the main thing I use YouTube for when it comes to like educating myself, is like I'll take the things that people are saying and, you know, I kind of take it with a grain of salt. Like sure, like this guy seems smart, like it could be true, but if I want to make sure something is true, I'll go out of my way to like fact check it. Like I'll look it up on like a more reliable website and read about it. I don't do all of my information gather. I don't do all of my like I'm not constantly educating myself with like books and papers and articles on the internet, because first of all, I have no idea how to like fact check like articles and stuff. Like I don't know, like I have a harder time deciphering in writing what is probably reliable and what is like very clearly not. Whereas something like I go to YouTube for when I want perspective and clarity on what kinds of people believe certain things. You know, like I don't like I could just go online and read like a Wikipedia article about like, okay, like what do like Democrats believe in, what do Republicans believe in, and it would give me a very like sterile list of like facts, like here are the things they believe in. But I think studying the people who believe and share those ideologies and like analyzing them and how they share their ideas is much, much more informative than just knowing the bare basic like facts by themselves. I think you kind of need the narrative of humanity and like social life to fully comprehend it, especially when it comes to politics, which I'll get to in a minute. So yeah, YouTube is not a reliable source of facts. It's a source of expression, and expression is informative in its own way. I think I'm going to give a few examples of like times that I was baited into like following some YouTuber's ideology, because of course this has happened to me before. Why else would I be talking about it? And I'm also going to talk about examples of like how I managed to not fall for that trap and how I managed to not get brainwashed by the wrong people. Because to an extent, I do see it as brainwashing. I mean, like, that might be what I call the video actually, is like, when am I being, what is educating and what is brainwashing? Like, what is the difference? Where is the line? How do I know? How do I know if I'm just learning new ideas, and how do I know if I'm being fed misinformation? When I was younger, I was very naive, and I didn't know fucking anything about politics. And then one day, I realized that, hey, I'm probably transgender. Like, I might be trans, but I wasn't totally sure, and I felt like I needed to educate myself to really, like, understand it all, you know? Because I'm like, oh, well, I can't, you know, everyone is always telling me that, like, if you transition, and then it turns out you were wrong, and that it was a mistake, it's gonna cause irreversible damage to your body, which, like, no. Not really. But I was fucking terrified, so I'm like, I have to do my due diligence, and I have to do a ton of research, and really fully understand, like, issues about trans rights, and what hormones do to your body and everything. Like, I needed to do a lot of research to make absolutely sure that I was certain that this is what I wanted. Because, yeah, like, the trans debate has been, like, raging on for years. So I decided I would hear out, like, people on YouTube. I would look up, what do people on the right have to say about this? What do people on the left have to say about this? And, like, where do transgender people as a community generally fall on the scale, and what do they believe in? You know, because I didn't really know any of that stuff. And I decided to begin by hearing out the opposition's argument. I wanted to hear, what do right-wingers have to say about trans rights and trans people in general? And the results that I found were really, really informative, because not because of the content or like the sterile facts being listed, but because of the way people on the right present themselves on the internet and the way that they try to spread their ideology to you, the way they try to sell it to you. Because, like, of course politicians are going to be selling you ideology. That's, like, their job. Like, politicians are fucking evil in general, like, right or left. But the thing you gotta know about the way they are, and specifically, like, the flavor of, like, charisma that they try to embody, it attracts very different crowds, very different walks of life. and I found out very quickly that the types of people who tend to be right-wing are people that I already strongly disagreed with, just with like my foundational like moral beliefs. Like, I already said the thing about authenticity and creativity. Furthermore than that, it's just like I very much disagree with like ideas of like hierarchy and like authoritarianism. I fucking hate authoritarians. I hate people who think that like you should just submit and do what you're told because things are the way they are. I always hated that idea, and people who are right-leaning tend to love authoritarianism. They tend to look up to it. They want to have hierarchy. They want to have a structure that they can easily like navigate in hopes of one day climbing the ladder themselves and making it to the top. It's like the right is also generally like more religious. They tend to be very emotionally, they're more used to like succumbing to authority because they worship a god, you know. So that stuff, those ideas come more naturally to them. So when I check out like right-wing YouTubers, what I find is some very, very strange, very angry people trying to posture and put up the appearance of authority. One of the first ones I found when I searched like, you know, like right-wing, like transgender on YouTube, one of the first results was a video by Ben Shapiro. I think it was called Transgenderism Debunked in Under 11 Minutes. And there were like so many red flags just off seeing like the thumbnail and the title. It's like, okay, so someone who is actually like academic and cares about what they're talking about wouldn't make this incredibly like poppy kind of like sensationalist like ooh, look, like I'm so smart, I can fucking debunk this thing in such a short amount of time, even though it's a really complicated issue. It's like that, and the use of the word transgenderism, which as far as I know is not a real word. Like, it's kind of like what I talked about earlier, like once you get deep into somebody's in-group and you start using their language and their own like made-up words that kind of like sound strange to anyone outside of that group, but in the group it's like, you know, just like a part of the culture. That's the kind of like red flag I saw where I'm like, okay, like these people are making up their own words for things that already have labels, because they just like, it gives the impression of like being so, like pushing back so hard against a thing because you hate it and don't even want to like give it the dignity of using their like language. You have to make up your own language to talk about it because you disagree with it so hard. Like, it just gave a bad impression. It gives the impression of like, I'm the bully and this is the nerd that I'm picking on, you know? So bad impression right off the start, but I'm like, whatever, I'll keep an open mind, I'll hear out his arguments. That video is just chock full of blatant lies, misinformation, contradictions, like, so many things that just didn't make sense, didn't add up, but because the guy was talking really fast and with authority, it felt like he was kind of trying to force the idea of like intelligence on me. Like he's like, I am very intelligent, you can tell because the way I speak. It's like, that is not real. That's not an honest representation of himself. That's like just a really obvious like performance. There was a particular moment in his video where he brought up John Money, which like if you're deeply informed on like transgender lore, you probably know who that is. For those who don't know, John Money was a bad guy. Who, like, I don't know, 100 years ago or something, fucking did experiments on a little kid who was born, like, intersex. He decided to forcibly transition this little infant from male to female or whatever. He decided, like, oh, I'm just gonna, like... Oh, no, that wasn't it. Yeah, he said he was going to just pick a gender for this kid, and just, like, forcefully transition this kid to a girl, and the kid was raised as a girl, and felt deeply fucking depressed and wanted to kill himself, so... Ben Shapiro used John Money as an example of why trans ideology is evil. And it didn't make any fucking sense, because, like, wouldn't that prove that, like, trans people are right, and that forcing someone to live as a gender they don't want is bad? Because John Money is not transgender. He was, like, a kook. You know? He was a quack. So, what the fuck does that have to... I think... Like, because the fruits of John Money's research led to further insight into transgender, like, study, I think, like, Ben Shapiro, in his mind, he's thinking, like, that is evidence that trans people are evil, because the way we live our lives comes from this evil guy who did bad stuff, which is, like, stupid. Like, does it really matter who's doing the study if the results are true? Like, information isn't inherently moral. Like, just because we know now that people have a concept of gender identity and that, like, transitioning can, like, you know, be extremely helpful for people who need to, it doesn't matter where that information comes from. Like, that doesn't make the information evil. I don't know, I feel like I'm explaining really basic bitch shit to people who, like, don't need to hear me explain this. Like, this is really obvious and simple if you're not a fucking moron, so I'm gonna continue. So, I watched a few different right-wingers videos, like, you know, a lot of the big, really popular ones that came up, like Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, like, whatever. They all just gave the impression of being really, really stupid. Like, just like, it's like when my mom puts on, like, I don't know, if I see someone watching, like, Fox News, or, like, some kind of, like, TikTok that's, like, obviously propaganda, and it's like, how do you not see that's propaganda? Like, it's some really pissed off old fat guy going, like, "Oh, the liberals are trying to take away our..." Like, dude, just talk normal. Fuck's sake. Like, just be normal about it. Like, it feels like you're trying so hard to force your feelings into me. Like, shut the fuck up. I don't know, it was a total contrast when I looked up, like, what are, like, left-wing people's opinions on trans rights and trans people? Like, what do transgender people think? And I found, like, a channel called Samantha Lux on YouTube, and her whole channel is basically her, like, she's a trans woman, and she just would react to, like, videos and things of, like, people being transphobic, and then she would, like, say something very sensible and measured in response, like, oh, like, that's not true. Like, she'd watch a video of someone saying, like, trans people are going into women's bathrooms and flashing their junk at everybody, and it's like, and Samantha Lux would be like, how, that's not how bathrooms work. Like, they have stalls. Why do you think that would happen? Like, just, like, a very, very sensible response to everything. She came across very calm, very intelligent. She came across as someone very kind and thoughtful who, like, knew what she was talking about. And it was to the point, like, I could fact check her on some things. Like, I don't think everything she said was 100% true. Like, she may have gotten some facts wrong here and there. But, like, I don't know, man. It's just like I said, it's the expression. It's the way these people express themselves. When everyone I find on YouTube who's right-wing expresses themselves as this really pretentious, annoying, like, insistent, fucking petty asshole, and everyone on the left is just like, "Ah, yes, I am very well researched, and I know what I am talking about because I read books." And it's like, it's not hard to know which one is more appealing. Especially when I, as a trans person, am trying to figure myself out. You know, it makes it a lot easier when the people on the opposing side are constantly saying horrible fucking things about me. It's just like, yeah, why the fuck would I listen to you? You're an asshole. Like, you're a bully. Fuck you. Ben Shapiro is just a dick. Like, beyond, you know, like, just going beyond, like, what his arguments are and how stupid they are. Just ignore all that and pretend everything he says is totally true. He's still a fucking asshole from the way he carries himself and the way he treats people. Like, gross. If anything, I think Democrats are too nice. I don't think Democrats are really left-wing. Like, especially after, like, the results of this past election. Democrats are not left-wing. They're pretenders. But, like, they try so fucking hard to push ideas of, like, decorum and, like, caring about appearances and being like, we are the proper good guys. Or, like, they're just like a... They're like a fucking human doormat. Like, they let people walk all over them and they're pussies. They take it too far. It's okay to be angry when, like, your anger is justified and, like, makes good sense. It's not usually that's not usually the case on YouTube. So I've given my political example, now I'm going to give an example related to religion, because this was a huge deal in my life. Around the same time, after deciding that I am in fact transgender and coming out to a few people, close friends and family, you know, I got into... I knew there were some people in my life who weren't going to be okay with it, and that I probably would have to cut them out of my life because of how shitty they would be. And that did unfortunately happen. And one person in particular was using their religion as kind of a shield, to be like, oh, like, I'm not transphobic, you're just being bigoted against me because I'm Christian and I can't agree with your lifestyle. And, like, that was obviously a fucking lie, by the way, because this person was, like, literally making, like, retching noises and going, oh, I'm gonna throw up when I told them. So, like, it wasn't about the religion, that was just a shitty excuse. But it really, really pissed me off, and I had a lot of, like, religious trauma from this person. So I went through a phase of just trying to understand religion better, because I'm like, I don't know, I guess I just had this feeling in my mind of like, what if there was just some information that I was missing, and that like religious people actually had like a chance of being right? Like, what if there is a higher power, and I just don't see it? So, yeah, I went to YouTube to hear out, again, like the opposing sides. Like, I'll listen to like atheist content on YouTube, I'll listen to Christian content on YouTube, try to get a more full picture, a more full idea of what these people actually believe, and what kind of people they are. The problems with Christian YouTube content are just like fucking, why does every pastor talk the same?
And you feel the light, and that's when you know that God is touching you.
It's like, be a regular fucking person, please. You're creeping me out. This is so, like, that's the most obvious form of brainwashing I can think of, is just when people put on like airs of performing and being like, I am a wise prophet, and you are feeling my magic. Like, shut the fuck up. No, I'm not. So yeah, obviously, I was already an atheist, and seeking out more information about Christianity to try and understand it better just made me double down on being an atheist. It made me an angry, pissed off Reddit atheist, and that I was very annoyed and very edgy about it, because like, the world is governed by Christians. Like, Christians rule the world, Christians force their shit onto everybody all the time. It's natural that that would make me a little upset. Especially when so many people who are Christian weaponize their religion in, like, government to, like, ruin people's lives. You know, people like me or my friends and family. So this led me down a very unfortunate rabbit hole. Because the thing is, when you're going through a major change in your life, be it, like, transitioning or getting kicked out of the house or moving to a new house, moving to a new city, making a new, like, finding a new friend group, just like losing all your friends, any like kind of major shift in your life, like maybe a death in the family or something, any kind of major shift, like you feel like your life has opened up a new chapter, or you're just feeling kind of lost for a while, that is when you are most vulnerable to being swept up, scooped up into a new ideology, sometimes a cult, sometimes, you know, sometimes it could be a positive change, like you find a whole new group of friends that really love and support you. It's happened to me a couple times. Great feeling. But yeah, like, it's just really easy for you to get swept up and just, like, relearn who you are, building it from the ground up, and adopting ideologies that other people come along, like, showing you, like, hey, you feeling lost and down on yourself? Well, I got the solution to all your problems. And then they'd be like, I got the product for you, baby, and... and then you end up in, like, I don't know, some kind of fucked up, like, religion or something. And in this case, it was... there were two different things that I adopted and made a part of my identity that I shouldn't have. One of them being the Satanic Temple, and the other one being the Atheist Experience call-in show. I would say I deeply regret the Satanic Temple one, mainly because it was just kind of an edgy meme. You know, like, it's like, oh, haha, Satanic Temple, like, they don't really believe in Satan. They're just there to, like, politically oppose unfair laws being pushed out by Christian politicians and stuff. Like, that part made sense. What I didn't realize is that Satanic Temple is, like, kind of selling you on, like, an identity. Like, I am a proud Satanist, that kind of thing. They want you to associate your identity with them and make it, like, a part of your life so that, like, I don't know. They want you to, like, donate money to their cause. And usually their cause is just sensationalism. They want to promote themselves. They want to have eyes on them. That's like the number one thing. They don't actually win most of like the cases they take to court. Sometimes they do, and it can be really gratifying, but like, they are not great people. They are mostly just trying to sell you something. The other one that I sort of regret, but not as much, is the Atheist Experience call-in show, because that was incredibly informative and educational and did feed me a lot of like new ideas that I hadn't thought of before, that did end up like making me feel more confident in my choices and my beliefs. But on the other hand, I feel that show justifies way too much bullying. Like, I don't know, because I just kept getting these fucking videos in my feed, like, all the time. It was like out of context clips of like, oh, here's a Matt Dillahunty debating somebody. And Matt Dillahunty, you know, he could be pretty intelligent, you know. He was very, very quippy, very fast and sharp with his responses. he was also a huge fucking dick. Like, if someone's, like, calls into the show trying to say, like, oh, I have, like, proof that God is real, and he's like, okay, let's hear it. And then they get about halfway into their spiel, because, like, they're setting up a premise for what their argument is. But then, like, the hosts of the show will notice, like, oh, there's holes, there's flaws in your premise, so they'll interrupt and be like, excuse me, that's actually wrong. And then the guy on the phone gets really pissed off, and then it just, like, I don't know. It was, like, constantly turning into, like, it was like a battle of egos sort of thing, where the more you watch the show, the more it turns into just, like, a kind of adrenaline fuel, because, like, anger is addicting, and some people, you know, have really, really boring lives, and they don't get a whole lot of joy, because, like, joy can be really difficult to get out of life, unfortunately. So, for some people, finding things that make you angry is easier than finding things that make you happy. And you would much rather feel angry than feel nothing at all. So, you know, I was like a semi-truck driver for a few years. I spent a lot of time on the road, bored out of my fucking mind, not feeling anything. So, what I end up addicted to Atheist Experience, where some fucking stupid people call into the show and say, I think God is real because of bananas, and then the fucking guys go, you are completely stupid and incorrect, and I can prove it with science and facts, you fucking idiot. And then click, hang up. Haha, that was so gratifying. I showed that dumbass who's real, I showed who's in charge. And, like, I just think that kind of content is extremely fucking toxic and erodes your, like, mental health and your ability to be a compassionate person, like, really fucking hard. You should not take that stuff in, especially, like, ad nauseum like I was doing. I think that seriously made me a worse person for a while, and I'm glad that I got out of that bubble, because Jesus fucking Christ. So yeah, I guess that's... I think I said pretty much everything I want to say about this subject. Just, like, do your due diligence, do your fact-checking, do not believe everything you hear on the internet, for fuck's sake. Older people especially need to hear that. My mom, holy... oh my god. All the very obvious, blatant propaganda that, like, the older generations fall for. It's like, they told us, like, kids, don't believe everything you see on the internet, and then they grew old, and now they believe everything they see on the internet. Like, all the AI-generated horse shit. So yeah, closing statements. No one is completely original. Obviously your ideas have to come from somewhere. You can't just go your whole life being a free thinker, only deciding on what you want to do. Generally you should expand your horizons and listen to more perspectives. Just, you know, don't get so invested in one single perspective that becomes your whole identity. That's not a good idea, because when that happens, you're in that one person's pocket and they can use you, and that's not good. Just kind of a good rule of thumb. If you want to be informed and you want to be educated, information is usually something you have to seek out. Don't rely on YouTube's, like, algorithm to bring good stuff to you, because usually, like, misinformation has a way of spreading really, really fast. Misinformation has a way of finding you. You have to find real information. So just, yeah, put some effort into it. Be really skeptical and never stop being skeptical, even if you've been subscribed to someone for over a decade. Now I'm going to give you a close-up of the cats. That one's Anakin. He's my little cutie pie. He's so handsome. He's so sweet. And that is Felicia. You can tell that she sleeps there a lot because of the infestation of kitty fur all around her. It's spreading everywhere. Hi, Felicia. Oh, she's so fluffy. She's so cute. So yeah, those are my babies. Alright, have a nice day.